We are not looking at growth. We're looking at sustainable growth. We didn't run any promotions on the site for Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
What is important to you? Like, how are you evaluating what works for you?
Yeah, it's a simple answer: net contribution. Do I inject more of the come over here and buy on Amazon to our Meta Shopify funnel? Do we seriously evaluate our Shopify business and move more towards the beverage category that I spent the last 4 years at, where you just don't sell on your website because it's shipping a 10-pound box of water across the country, and move more towards an Amazon, or a Poppy or a Liquid Death model? Like, Amazon is their marketplace. These are big questions that we're trying to ask as we look to sustainably scale the business.
All right, so there's probably some things worth testing in here. So let's start to figure that out. All right, we're here. Cam, we've been talking about doing this for a bit, and we finally got time on the pod to chop it up. Cameron and I have known each other for a while. He's a recent IntelliGems customer now, and I thought there's no one better. I've had this idea for a while where I just want to like shoot the shit with people who are using IntelliGems and be like,
I'm here for it.
Answer what if, build some hypotheses together. Where should we go next? What should we be testing? And kind of like give the people a view into how to think through where to go. Because a lot of people are using IntelliGems to do kind of like small CRO things. And I want everyone to be thinking bigger. And we've already been having some of these conversations on how to think bigger. So Cam, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too,
I don't even
man.
know.
Thanks
I
for
don't
having
even
me.
know where we start, but
I just open book, man. Ask away of like, where are we at? What are we trying to do? What are you guys trying to think about things? But let's wrap it up.
yeah, let's maybe start. Let's start with you and with the brand. And like, I think one of the things that I want to help people get a handle on is that what you test next should not just be, what did someone say on Twitter? What did someone say on LinkedIn? Like, someone's always got a best practice for you. It needs to be based on the realities of your business.
Yeah.
So I think the best place for us to start is, what's keeping you up at night right now? What's on, like, strategically, what's important? Like, let's talk about some of those things so that we can actually maybe figure out, like, what should we test? Where should we go? Let's talk about some of that.
Yeah. I mean, beyond my 4 and 2-year-old keeping me up at night, there's a lot on the world of digital and bare bones too. The biggest thing that we're thinking about right now is the seasonality of the business. Being an instant bone broth company is a lot more exponential than we had expected. So as we look to scale paid media and acquire new users, we're doing that through the more traditional Meta and Shopify funnel. But we have found that as spend on Meta goes up, Shopify is relatively flat. But what's really interesting is how Amazon has scaled threefold, which is insane.
Interesting.
So the soft impact of that has been branded search queries on Amazon has skyrocketed right in line with when we started scaling Meta. And I totally nerded out on this and sent some LLMs 6 months of Shopify, Klaviyo, Amazon, Meta data, and just queried things for like 2 weeks, trying to bring out my statistical significance, like AP stats class, old school way of thinking of going, okay, if I'm going to go to the team and say, I think that we need even more paid media dollars to go strike while the iron is hot during our peak selling season, how am I going to make this connection other than more Meta spend means more branded search impressions on Amazon? That's not enough of a correlation to validate 3, 4, 5x spend on paid media. So what we found is like a really strong R value. We did a regression analysis and said, for every dollar that we spend on Meta, there's $3 that we see back to Amazon. But what's really interesting is there's a 14-day lag time. So it just validates for us that Meta is like an upper funnel awareness play, even though most of our ads are UGC testimonial. This is how I use bare bones. This is how it's helped me on my journey. All of that's pointed back towards the website. But we're seeing an incredible halo effect on Amazon. So that's what I've been thinking about lately is, do I leverage that? Do we keep that going? Do we test out ways to send traffic directly to Amazon? you and I were talking about, like, do I give the consumer a dealer's choice, like make new buttons on the PDPs and home pages and landing pages of choose your own destiny? Like, you can buy on Amazon, you can buy on the site. What's the value? So that's what I've been really thinking about, is kind of this little tiny insight of, as Meta spend went up, Shopify was relatively flat, but Amazon sales skyrocketed and awareness for the brand skyrocketed. How do we capture that lightning in a bottle during this peak selling season?
I find that so interesting, and we're definitely going to dig in here. But before
Okay.
I really just want to dive in there. But before I do, like, anything else kind of like on a strategic level that is like either a focus for you or like something that might be keeping you up at night. So like, hey, we found this insight. We could potentially scale paid media here. A
Yep.
lot of questions that we're going to dig into in a second on like, okay, what to do? Why is it happening? Where do we go next? I guess like the
Yeah.
classic, like, what, so what, now what? Anything else strategically on your mind? And like, more
Sure.
importantly, anything keeping you up at night
Yeah, I think the other thing that I've been thinking
besides the
about
kids?
is they're getting better, man. It doesn't even cuts it off, huh? I was going to say artwork included here on the screen, but it's in portrait mode. The other thing that I've been thinking about is we are a community placed platform, or community focused platform, better said. And what I mean by that is that we like to position Bare Bones as a supportive way through your journey. So that might be a weight loss journey. That might be a skincare journey. That might be an overall wellness journey. I just concluded a 3-day fast. All I did was just sip on Bare Bones at the end of the day. So like, if you're just looking to reset your body, we want that comfort and Bare Bones to be a part of it. And what's really interesting to me is that I feel like one or two of those communities or paths of that journey could be more valuable to the business compared to others. We're in a very unique position at this brand where it truly speaks to anyone. And as a marketer of 15 years, that's a scary proposition.
Terrifying.
So that's what keeps me up at night. Where we've gone with this is we've developed 4 core communities and we've started building UGC content around those communities. And we've put those into the Meta funnel with extremely broad, if not no targeting at all. If you have a beating heart in the United States, you're going to see an impression from Bare Bones. What I'd like to get to is isolating that funnel by the community.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, if there is a weight loss video, someone demonstrating the value of Bare Bones in their weight loss journey, I want to send them to a landing page that talks through that journey, tells their story in more detail, and uses our unique value propositions speaking to that community. And furthermore, whether you convert or don't convert on that funnel, looking at Klaviyo and CRM and retention, speaking back to that community in very specific terms. Because again, we're in a very fortunate position that we have built a brand that is truly applicable to anyone. Now, I know that that's a bit of a stretch, but I'll show you the data. It's pretty insane of our histogram of demographics. So that's really what I'm trying to understand is, do we invest in what I'll just make up a term here, in like community specific funnels? Or do we keep it super broad and just let everyone come into that journey from the top of the funnel and isolate that communication, maybe just on retention, maybe just on the landing page? But I can go on, man. But that's the other thing that's keeping me up at night, is just where do we go with that and what do we learn from that?
Yeah. And when you say, hey, we're not doing any targeting, we have these 4 core communities, to say it back to you, basically, like, there is creative targeting a community. You put it to Meta, and like, you're trusting Meta for it to find its audience from like a top of funnel perspective.
Another very scary proposition, but yes, we have leaned more into trusting Meta as of late, because we are not looking at growth. We're looking at sustainable growth. So I have cost caps on our Meta campaigns. So we are entrusting Meta through one creative testing campaign and then another basic scaling campaign to say, we're going to put everything up in that funnel and testing campaign. We're looking at click-through rate, most importantly, engagement, almost secondarily, purchases and cost per purchase. And then saying this creative somehow speaks to one of those communities. Let's put it in that scaling pane. And I can't believe I'm saying this on a recorded line. Trust Meta to go find that person at the cost that works with our unit economics.
Send it to someone over there that you trust, and then maybe they'll give you something. Okay, this is really good. I guess two questions before let's get into like, should we test it, or like starting to build some of the hypotheses here. Black Friday just happened.
Yeah.
How did that go for you? And what was kind of like the offer for you guys this year? I think that's like, as we went into Black Friday, that was something that like a lot of IntelliGems customers were working with. Like, what's the offer we're going to have going into peak selling season, the busiest time of the year?
Great question. I'm in the very fortunate position that this role as head of digital did not exist at Barebones prior to me being here. So I'm very thankful for that. The reason I share that is the prior 2 years of scaling the Shopify business, it was the same offer every other month. There was really no testing of what that was. When I joined, I wanted to look most closely at the unit economics because, again, we're looking for sustainable growth. And this summer, we did a flat 30% off promotion, site-wide, no minimums, nothing, use the code, pretty traditional stuff. A month later, we did a lower value, but a buy more, save more promotion. So we kind of tested 30% off versus like buy 2, get 10, buy 4, get 20, etc. We found for us that the buy more, save more produced more net contribution. So less conversions, higher volume, more net contribution. And then that really just flipped things on its head for me looking at the holiday selling season. So 2 things to consider here. I love getting share of mind and share of wallet on digital promotions outside of the traditional selling weeks.
Yes.
More so, we look at promoting the brand to what we call seasonally relevant moments, but also bare bones marketing moments. Black Friday, Cyber Monday has nothing to do with the community that we're trying to build at Bare Bones on a journey. That doesn't make any sense. So what we did is we strategized and said, let's just bookend outside of the traditional Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So we concocted a Friendsgiving sale around being the community member that brings a better for you option recipe that's packed with protein and collagen, more flavor, et cetera, through Bare Bones. And then we're about to go do a holiday sale, which is really the same creative concept, but for a different time of year. And we didn't run any promotions on the site for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So here's what we learned. From that summer sale that I think was either 20 or 30% off, but a flat fee is the point. We did better when we ran a buy more, save more promotion. We took that insight and turned that into our always on new user acquisition funnel. So rather than the traditional, give me your email and phone number, I'll give you a 20% off code. Our top of funnel creative, our landing pages, and our super traditional email collection building list pop-up now says, give me your email to unlock up to 20%. So we now have an always on buy more, save more promotion for anyone, not just new users, but we really target it towards that funnel. So we learned that volume did better for us. And then I said, well, why don't we just do a deeper buy more, save more for our Friendsgiving offer? So we had 3 things then from July into October. We had a deeper than normal static 30% off. We then tested buy more, save more. We found that buy more, save more worked for us. And then our deepest promotion that we have run was our recent Friendsgiving sale 2 weeks prior to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, where we doubled the buy more, save more offer, and that cranked. And that has now set in stone what our promotional strategy for the site will be in 2026. So we'll have an always on buy more, save more, and we'll just have a deeper buy more, save more for those promotional periods.
Without sharing the specific details, I was looking at IntelliGems at your account, and like everyone spiked over Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but you guys spiked like a week before and like still did great through kind of like the holiday weekend. But like, things are definitely up. So
It worked.
Cam is not blowing smoke here. It worked.
I think the other thing that was really interesting too, and shout out to our CRM partner with Bobby at Retentio. Look, the whole idea of doing this was almost threefold of like, get that share of mind and wallet for our consumers, but also just not be in the thick of it for that week and have me and my team be able to enjoy the holidays, quite frankly. But also just, we wanted, knowing our shipment times, fulfillment times, and the fact that we see AOV just massively spike during these promotions, we wanted the idea to be to consumers, load up now for your Friendsgiving and Thanksgiving holidays.
Yep.
So I was sitting pretty saying this was a weird year where we got Black Friday, Cyber Monday was November revenue and December revenue, right? Because it fell on December 1st for Monday.
Yep.
I'm like, we're not going to do anything over the traditional weekend. And Bobby hits me up. He's like, hey, I got a wild idea. We have this always on buy more, save more. Why don't we just promote that during Black Friday, Cyber Monday? No code, no offer. Just say, hey, we have this always on thing. Just come and get us. And his great quote, and I give him credit, is like, it should be free revenue. And Cyber Monday was one of our largest single days on the site and no different promotion. So net proceeds were through the roof as well, right? So I think it's really just coaching our community and looking at those different segments through email of who's looking for what and when, and being really purposeful of how we promote those different offers. But a ton learned over the last 90 days. Absolutely crazy.
All right. So from a strategic standpoint, let's break this into like some categories. We've got meta, let's just call it spend, meta spend.
Yeah.
Where's it going? Why are certain things happening? And kind of like, let's clump kind of like cross channel into that. So we've got like the Amazon business and the Shopify business. We've got this like the community side of things and like brand building into specific consumer segments. And then we've got this kind of like offers and promotions, different strategy than kind of like what we had in the past.
Yeah.
In these three areas, you said, hey, this has worked for us. I think what's really important before we go into this and for everyone listening is like, what is important to you? Like, how are you evaluating what works for you?
Yeah. It's a simple answer, net contribution.
Okay.
Barebones is in a very fortunate situation that we ship very light, fluffy, instant bone broth on the internet. And we have incredible margins to sustain that. That gives us the opportunity to promote the brand, but we do it sustainably and we do it with every insight into every channel of sale. So we're not trying to undercut Costco. We're not trying to undercut any of our retail partners, but that allows us to promote and to advertise and to bring in new users. So net contribution is king. The other big, I call them King KPIs, like don't pick more than 3 or you're getting into analysis paralysis.
Yep.
The other one is new user acquisition costs. So I will die on the hill that ROAS is a bullshit metric. I hate it. I don't like hearing from it from our agency partners. They know that now. Like, that doesn't matter. I want to understand by channel and by community, what is our cost per new user, not just a meta cost per purchase, because that's a little bit of returning for us. And then kind of a no shit Sherlock moment, but just growth. Like, we're here to grow this business. By default, our digital channels are meant to be the highest growth drivers of the business. We are the de facto marketing arm. We don't have a traditional IRL team, field marketing team. Like, we've grown this business through digital channels. So the creator content that we do, organic, social, paid media, that's all driving everything. As the tide rises, all the boats rise is the big thesis. So I'm just looking at growth and making sure that as we spend more, we're seeing more revenue and nothing is flat when we're investing more into those paid media channels.
And from your King KPIs there, would you say you listed those in order of the importance to you? Cool. Because like now we have like
net contribution, cost per new user, and just overall growth. And I think another thing, if we're talking through this, is probably a fourth one going into 2026 is that growth rate. So if we are seeing the opportunity and the white space to validate more paid media, are we seeing that growth rate somewhat in line to the up and to the right? And our early testing here in December, while we're striking while the iron is hot, is we're actually seeing more efficiencies as we spend more, which is a wild proposition. But I just produced a State of the Union to my team so everyone knows where we're pointing the tip of the spear this quarter. And the thesis is like, when will we find our ceiling? We have spent more on the appropriate channels at the appropriate time of year for our seasonality, and we haven't been able to find inefficiencies through that scaling. So I'm just hunting for that. It exists for sure, but through responsible, through responsible selling, I just haven't found where that is. So that's another hypothesis to look at.
So to summarize that, like we want to look at growth rate and growth, but again, that's at the lower tier of the King KPIs because that net contribution, or like let's just say profitability, like let's stay profitable. That's the important thing. I want to grow. I want to stay profitable. And we're not just looking at CAC, we're looking at NCAC. I want to know how efficiently I am gaining new customers. So name of the game here, I think you said it earlier, let's just say it's sustainable growth. I want to grow sustainably. All right. I think we have enough information now to start figuring out like where do we go from here? So we want to focus things on efficient customer acquisition. We want to focus things on keeping good margins and growth. We got a few buckets that we can talk about. We've got this Meta ads. I think I want to start there because I think it's really interesting. Okay. We've got the brand building component, and then we've got the like offer promotion strategy kind of like ongoing.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about this. Hey, I'm spending, but it's going to Amazon, not to my Shopify business. Are the ads pointing to Shopify? Like you are purposely trying to send people to Shopify, but they end up buying on Amazon. Is that what we're seeing?
Yes, and okay. It's not only a complicated question, but it's a complicated answer. So we'll try and talk through it together here. The awareness was from one key retention metric that kind of sparked all of this like 60 days ago. We have the unfortunate situation where our peak seasonality is also Meta's peak seasonality. So looking at Q1 to Q3, our CPMs have doubled on Meta. And again, we don't target anything specific. So it's just the cost of doing business on that platform. So I was seeing our spend go up because we're trying to capture new consumers during this peak seasonality. But we have a higher cost per acquisition, that NCAC, King KPI. I'm bullish on this brand, big time. We have November to March to acquire a cohort of consumers and then retain them until the next seasonality peak in the following year. So my hypothesis is let's go get them.
Yep.
Hard to validate that as a paid media manager when you're spending more and your NCAC is going up as you're sharing to leadership and the board. So I'm digging into this. Why is this happening? We don't traditionally look at NCAC to LTV because we know that we are a proper omni-channel business. Thriving Amazon business, thriving Costco business, thriving grocery, thriving direct. You can trip over bare bones at any grocery store. So to validate spending more, I wanted to understand why we aren't seeing the most traditional Shopify funnel of acquiring on Meta, getting 3 or 4 purchases for that payback period. And here's the stat. Our payback period is 3 purchases on the website. This year, only 3.6% of those that made their first purchase this year made it to that 3rd purchase. Say that again. Only 3% of our consumers made it to our payback period. I should be fired immediately if you look at that, right? At arm's length. That's not a good paid media funnel. But what was really interesting is that we're looking at our Amazon business during the same 60-day period where we're scaling up Meta and identifying these awarenesses as Amazon's crushing it. Okay, why is Amazon crushing it? Mainly with static Amazon ads and our Amazon ad investment being flat, we're seeing more branded searches on the platform. So through correlation, not causation yet, the theory is Meta is an awareness funnel for us, and consumers are going over to Amazon. So now I'm trying to connect the dots as a data-driven marketer. This is a theory. We're getting people first time purchase to the website, but no one's coming back to the website. If I can answer the question, their secondary, tertiary purchases are on other platforms, I quite literally have an unlimited paid media budget, in theory. So this is where I just totally nerded out. And I was like, there's so much data here. Why don't we use LLMs to help us understand it? So through a regression analysis, found that super strong R value of like 0.65, I think it was. Dollar that we spend on Meta sees $3 in revenue on Amazon, but 2 weeks later. So now I'm thinking, do I just let that ride? That's really cool. Do I spend more on Meta? Do I inject more of the come over here and buy on Amazon to our Meta Shopify funnel? Do we seriously evaluate our Shopify business and move more towards the beverage category that I spent the last 4 years at, where you just don't sell on your website because it's shipping a 10-pound box of water across the country, and move more towards an Amazon, or excuse me, a Poppy or a Liquid Death model? Like Amazon is their marketplace. These are big questions that we're trying to ask as we look to sustainably scale the business.
All right. So there's probably some things worth testing in here. So let's start to figure that out. So a few questions. We're sending Meta ads to Shopify. Are people making the purchase, like that first purchase,
Great question.
in that funnel, and then they don't come back? Or are we seeing, like, what are we seeing from like a click-through perspective / like cart abandonment? Like, are people coming through these ads and like balking at the site and then going to Amazon? Or are they making the purchase and then they never come back? Now they go to Amazon.
Yeah, the latter, which is wild. So all of our traditional performance metrics are above benchmarks. Our click-through rate on Meta is hovering around 2%. Our Meta reported conversion per landing page is above 5.5%. With the buy more, save more win, we've seen an 8% rise in AOV for that first purchase order. So we are getting more people to the site from better creative. We are getting more people to convert directly through that funnel. Mind you, within the very traditional 7-day look-back window that Meta has for attribution. So yes, as I spend more on Meta, we are seeing more Meta-attributed purchases. The caveat to all of this is, as that end CAC rises, I need to validate on the back end through LTV that we are making that money back. Because even though we have best-in-class margins, no one's first purchase profitable. And if you are, you're lying through your teeth right now with the rising cost of paid media. And now I just need to validate through insights, analytics, new tools. Yes, we are getting those repeat purchases, but they are on other platforms. And should we account more of an omni-channel LTV, which is like this hot word I've been trying to make work internally? If we can account for an omni-channel LTV, I quite literally have an unlimited paid media budget, because we have a very, very sticky consumer once someone finds the value in bare bones.
All right, let's find some ways where we can set up a test to, I call it nibbling, where
Okay.
you want to set up the omni-channel LTV here. Like, anyone who's listening to this who is selling in retail and Amazon and online knows that that is very difficult to set that up so that you can actually see what's going on. So we've done a few things here. We did the analysis. We have a strong R value. Sounds like there's a few, like, where can we go nibble so that as you're trying to build this infrastructure, we can find signals that, like, okay, I think, or I believe, what if I did this? Would that give me a stronger signal than what I currently have to validate that to my boss, the board, the team, myself, that this is the direction?
Well said.
So let's think about that nibble. Like, is there something here where, hey, people are coming through, they're buying on the Shopify site, they're not coming back. any hypotheses on like why they wouldn't come back to the original purchase point and why do they go to Amazon instead? And can we start playing around with that in this first purchase on the site and see if we can, again, nibble here and validate some of those assumptions?
Yeah, love this question. Okay, a couple things to break down there. One, I think the answer of why people are not coming back is not a bare bones problem. I think it's a
Okay.
shift in consumer behavior. That's my hot take. As an omni-channel brand, we do our best to line price our product across all marketplaces and retail. We do not have a unique value proposition like other brands do to bring consumers back to the website. So the theory is there is better value and, most importantly, more convenience for the consumer now that they have tried bare bones, been made aware of it first and foremost through top of funnel meta ads. It's another thing we can talk about, problem aware versus solution aware and where to sit things. Whole nother podcast. So we got them converted, but we have really strong data again that we have a very sticky consumer and we have a once a month purchase behavior. It doesn't make sense for someone to come back to the website. It makes sense to shop at your retailer of choice. Is that Walmart.com? Is that Amazon? Is that Whole Foods? Is that Sprouts? Is that Kroger? Wherever that might be, thanks to our amazing sales team, we're readily available and at priced very, very well at all of those channels. So there's really just no reason to come back to the brand.com. And I've connected with a lot of other operators from other brands the last 6 months, and they're seeing those shifts as well. Even those that have very, very well established subscription businesses, promotional strategies, et cetera. They're just seeing, I call it, it's not a leaky funnel, nor is it a leaky brand. It's just a leaky channel.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And that's really what I'm trying to understand is I'll keep the analogy going, like where else am I picking up that leak? So where did I go nibble? I love this analogy. So the first thing I did, we have recently invested more into content marketing with UGC testimonial stuff on UGC, specifically on Instagram. That has driven a lot more profile views of our Instagram page. I did a super, super micro mini test. On that profile link, there's 2 calls to action. Save up to 20% on the website. Buy now with Amazon Prime. There's no CTA, doesn't say shop now. There's just 2 buttons on our profile now. Been running that for 30 days. 3-1, Alex. 3-1 people choose Amazon, even though it is cheaper with that first purchase promotion to buy on the website. This is a very different way of looking at it. This is not trying to understand where that secondary or tertiary purchase comes from. It's saying at the point of purchase, which platform do you want to buy bare bones on? So to wrap up that thought bubble, there's a ton of white papers and some good data to show consumers try on the website and then repeat purchase on marketplaces. We are seeing that now through a regression analysis validated with a statistical significance. And I'm also just talking to other operators of, multi-million-dollar omni-channel brands that they're seeing a bit more on their marketplaces rather than on their .com.
So I love that nibble test. So people prefer buy on Prime. Let's try to dissect that for a second, because I think that's where we can build some like tests that we can come back. Like we'll build them out and we'll come back and we'll talk about them later. You use the word convenience a bunch of times in that answer. So for you, what is it inside of convenience? Is it how fast they can go from I want the thing to having it in my hand? Is there any, like you said, like, hey, the line, like there's more value in some of these other places? Is it like the price per stick that they're getting on Amazon or in retail versus on the site? Is it convenience in the terms of pack sizes? Like I don't know the specifics for you, but like in another life, I worked with a lot of CPG brands, and like we almost always have larger pack sizes going into retail than we have on the site. So it's like, hey, I love this thing. I don't want to buy it 1 at a time or like 10 at a time. I want to buy it 50 at a time, 100 at a time. So like convenience is like the speed the pack size, and then like I threw price in there. I don't think that's necessarily a convenience thing, but I think like price is one of those things that is just like it weighs in on like every decision, no
Of
matter what
course.
the pull
Of
is.
course.
So is it one of like where do we think it is in that world, or is it just
Yeah.
like a yes, it's everything?
It's a really good question. It's not a yes to everything, which is fascinating to me. So the price is line priced on the website and Amazon. Now we have some third-party sellers. We have to lower it a bit on Amazon to keep that buy box and the competitive price. But if you look at the first purchase discount that we offer in that buy more, save more on the site versus the Amazon Prime price, they're equalized. So it's not
Yep.
price. I have just been humbled lately, having watched everything from the Amazon conference and actually went to the Walmart.com conference down here in San Diego a couple weeks ago, of how much those platforms are on a race to the bottom, right? They're both trying to dominate e-commerce right now. Because there was a crazy stat that came out months ago that just went viral on LinkedIn of like, we are back, baby, from all of our D2C operators, where I forget what the source was, but we're back to COVID level D2C revenue. And that to me was like the jumping off point for the marketplaces to go, yeah, we're not going to lose to the brands. Like we're going to own e-commerce. So I go
Yep.
back to this convenience. We are never going to compete with the fulfillment giants of Walmart and Amazon, right? Walmart, we're very fortunate to be sold and sold well in those retailers, or in those locations rather. That means that most of our consumers can get same day shipping from Walmart. We have a thriving Amazon business. So every FC we're shipping Prime out of. So no matter where you are in the country, if you buy on Amazon, you can get it 2 days later. And the convenience factor also comes in when we look at our basket analysis on those marketplaces. Bare Bones is an everyday grocery item. Like it's a staple in your pantry. So it just psychology says, why would you go buy a single item for your pantry from an isolated channel from that vendor? Why not do all of your shopping? It just sounds stupid to say this out loud, but it's just the consumer behavior that we're seeing. So I think the answer to your question is convenience. We have an amazing 3PL partner. They pack and ship most of our orders same day, 100% of them within 24 hours. But so that we can be profitable, again, sustainable growth, we ship 3 to 5 business days. So I think there's that instant gratification, of like I saw an ad, or I now know that I want this. I don't want to wait for it. Or because we are marketing this around the holiday season, there are certain social deadlines of social gatherings, events, etc. Like shipping and convenience is going to be a big one. But I think that's it. I think it's a shift in consumer behavior. And I think it's just the two giants are battling it out right now. Why don't I become part of that? Why would we think that we can be better than those two with fulfillment? We can't.
Okay. So should we then be testing two things here? Send traffic to site and skip that and send straight to Amazon.
Yeah.
I know we got to figure out some of the like tracking and logistics of this, but like, am I better off just sending someone straight to Amazon? Again, the nibble, and spoiler, Cam and I have talked about this test, so like this isn't just coming out of nowhere. I don't want to pretend we're like magicians. Is you mentioned Liquid Death and Poppy at the top of the episode. For those that aren't familiar, Liquid Death's strategy is their site directs you to Amazon to make the purchase for the beverages. You can buy the merch and stuff on the site, but if you're buying the fizz in a can, it is coming from Amazon. Should we, which is probably again the nibble before like, hey, let's go to Amazon versus like the site, because that might be hard to track, is let's go to the site and let's give the option on the PDP that we're sending people to, buy this here or buy this on Amazon. With the hypothesis being that if I get them to make that first purchase on Amazon, and that's where they're naturally going to go to next, like let's build that habit rather than like let's have them buy it on the Shopify site And like, we got to assume there's some breakage here, right? Like, hey, people are
Of
buying
course,
on the site and like they just never go back to, it's like, oh, it wasn't convenient enough to get it on, like, that took 5 days. I'm cooking for my family 2 days from now, so I'm not buying it.
you
So there's
got it.
that breakage happening. So should we be testing these kind of like selections to buy from a
Yeah.
PDP?
So I love this. Not on purpose, but we deployed a consumer survey to try and answer some of those questions right before we recorded this episode. The
Hot off the
fascinating,
press. Hot off the
yeah,
press.
the fascinating insight is that we used Klaviyo to segment a pretty sizable sample of those that have only purchased once on the website in the last 90 days.
Okay.
Okay? 5 questions on this survey. 2 of them were BFs. 1 of them is all that I care about. We opened with, since your last purchase on barebonesbroth.com, have you purchased Bare Bones again? I know that that was your first purchase on the site, but we didn't really call that out in the survey. I'm not making this shit up. 100% of respondents of the survey thus far have said, yes, I bought Bare Bones somewhere else after my first purchase on the website. Those that said that they didn't, the reason, so follow question number 2 on the survey, was I bought you during your sale. I've got a shit ton of Bare Bones. I'm just not ready to buy yet. Fascinating in that the follow-up question is, you bought it for the first time on the website. We know that you haven't come back. So I'm already knowing, did you buy it again or did you not? If you bought it again, the follow-up question is where? Amazon, 56%. Costco, 30%. Everything else is our amazing grocery and direct business partners.
Yep.
So overwhelming, that follow-up purchase, according to our high-valued D2C consumers, that follow-up purchase is made on Amazon. So we kind of had another nibble. Love this analogy. We'll keep it going. So what I have been thinking about doing, and that's why you and I started talking about this, is want to use intelligence to set up a new funnel on the site where we give consumers the option to buy on the site with a buy more, save more promotion, or buy on Amazon. Now, what's really, really intriguing to me and why I love the opportunity to work with you guys on this is there are so many nuances of that. Because your capabilities that you guys have with theme testing, which is different than all the other platforms. I can only serve, I'll call it a secondary ATC, add to cart, secondary add to cart. We can test this out and only serve that secondary add to cart for return website visitors and see what happens. We can think about and talk through only serving that secondary ATC just to Meta source medium traffic. Or we could just say, let it live. And let's utilize the intelligence tracking to say, what is that source that's driving either an over-index to the site purchase or to Amazon? And then, again, I'm saying so many things on a recorded line, which are wild. Amazon's gotten better. That's wild to say.
What?
And their attribution links, now with AMC, you can look at omni-channel attribution back to your Amazon business now. It's not airtight, but we could link and say from meta click to website visit to conversion on Amazon. And most importantly, to bring this all the way back to the top of the call, is look at the LTV on Amazon versus what we're seeing on the website. And if I can combine that first purchase with 3, 4, 5, 6 purchases on Amazon, and again, look at an omni-channel LTV, those numbers for our business validate a massive increase in meta spend, if we can validate that.
A few things you said like, yeah, figure out like who do we want to test this with, or just let it ride and go to everyone.
Yeah.
I like that you said like, hey, it's not going to be airtight. And I think that I just want to point that out because so many people will come and talk to me and like, I really have been pushing this kind of like test beyond what's typical. Like, hey, we
Love
just
that.
dissected the business and like ask what if. Like, what if
Yeah.
we knew? And like the what if on this is you think you'd be more profitable, but not only that, you think you can hit your growth numbers because like now I can justify higher spend if I can figure this out. And it's not that it needs to be airtight. And like that's why I use the nibble thing here. It's like, how do we always inch ourselves closer to being more confident?
Yeah.
I want to validate a big decision. I want to answer a big question. How do I give, again, the board, my boss, but more importantly, myself, the confidence that this is the
Sure.
right play? So in this test, we'll set up these like add to carts. We'll use the IntelliGems like custom events so that we can track like the button clicks. We'll use what's going on. Like, this is why I love working with Cam. Everyone, Cam's like the tinkering genius for everything. Like, hey, here's how we're going to track this all the way through. And like, hey, Alex, I'm going to start looking at the LTV on this through like my entire, like all the tooling I have.
Yeah.
What happens? Hey, we do this test. Maybe this tells us like 56% of the people that come in on the first purchase are going to Amazon. And like, maybe that tells us that we should be putting most of our meta spend like straight to Amazon and not to the website. Like, again, like these are all, it's going to answer, it's the question, the answer that leads to another question. And I think
Yeah.
like that's what this is all about. So we're definitely, we'll get that slated. And the next time we get back together, we'll share kind of like what's going on in here.
Yeah.
We have a few more minutes. I think that let's skip the offer one. I think that's more basic. We can kind of come back to that in a future episode. But
It's very traditional. I'll subscribe to that. Yeah.
I do want
I think
to talk about it though, because you're taking a different approach, and I think we can test a few things where it's like that one might not be a game changer, but I think we can like on the efficiency note, maybe we can dial in what that percentage is, or like what
it's the efficiency
the
note.
gift is. Yeah.
And look, all roads are pointing back towards how do I validate spending more to drive growth to this business? And look, I have far gone the attribution game of what click to where within what window is driving it, right? The perception change in the last 12, 24 months for me as a digital marketer is very simply put that as the tide rises, all the boats rise.
Yep.
I'm not looking at individual TikTok CAC versus Pinterest versus open email versus Meta. You won't find any answers in there. It's going to get more frustrating than validating. So what I've shared with our agency partners is let's move away from this blended idea of paid media. Let's focus on one channel and let's go deeper rather than wider.
Yes.
And for us, I don't know what it is about the Meta algo, but it's done a hell of a job of finding us quality bare bones consumers. So I say this because another what if, or getting an answer to a question that would open up another one, I love your train of thought there, is if we can validate that upper funnel tactics drive Amazon purchases, what if we went upper funnel on Amazon? The brand has not done that yet. We haven't played in the DSP space. We haven't played in Prime Video. We just haven't gone upper funnel on that channel. Meta's been the upper funnel. Amazon's been the retention channel. What if we can validate it's not that it's Meta, it's just an upper funnel investment dollar is driving towards Amazon. And then we can get super nerdy over there because, again, their attribution and their targeting capabilities native to the marketplace are just insane now. So that's another whole open-ended question of like, okay, let's nibble here. Let's figure out when given the duality of an add to cart button, where do you go? And does that over-index based on how you got to the site? And then I'm going to look at LTV from the Amazon tag and attribution links, connect that with the IntelliGems source data, the funnel, how they're getting there, and go, cool. There's like my dotted line.
Yep.
And to be clear, I have had the great pleasure of working for founder-led brands for the last 15 years. I have never said that there is a direct attribution model for this omni-channel way that CPG businesses must run these days. It's all correlation at best, and it's directional for sure. So I liked your way of thinking of saying, like, I have zero expectation that this will all be a straight line. This is always going to be a dotted line. There will always be ifs, ands, and buts about it. But if we're looking to spend more to drive the growth of this brand, I got to have something to go on. And any data is valuable data.
As you said, so next time we come back, let's put a pin in the, like you talked about, like, hey, the top of the funnel, and like, hey, should the top of the funnel be on Amazon? And you said one of the things keeping you up at night is we have like these 4 core communities, and like, is one of these more valuable than the other? And like, next time we get together, let's talk about some of the tests we can put together where it's like, hey, which of
Love
these
it.
4 communities potentially is the most profitable for us? But as we go into that, I think we'll set up the one we were just talking about. I think like what I'm going to do is look at the like welcome offer plus like this every 2 months offer and be like, hey, the next time, like, let's go try 20 versus 25 versus 15, like see what's going on. And like, this is a strategy I talk a lot about with at IntelliGems is like, look for those places where it's like, hey, I can find optimizations and like always have an optimization on the go. So I think like our optimization path right now is let's optimize that welcome offer. Let's see if we can find like the best version of that. The big swing or like where the what if it could change my business is this add to cart test.
Yeah.
After this, we'll queue up the how do we find the most valuable person, like community, and figure that out. And again, when we come back, these questions are going to have answers that are inevitably going to lead us to another question. And we continue on
Always.
forever because even when we find the best thing only stays the best thing for so long. And then competition changes, the market changes, tariffs happen, this happens, who knows what happens. And then it all goes to shit. We got to start again anyway.
Yeah. That's why I love this stuff is it's a mindset of constant optimization. There is no answer. There's just an opportunity for improvement, but it's never ending. And if you think that there's an end game, you're in the wrong category. But that's why I love digital so much because it's fun, it's changing. And if you got the right mindset, you can get value from it other than driving yourself into the ground and losing sleep on purpose. But this is the fun stuff, man. Just trying to figure out just how I love the language that you use there. How do we optimize? Not trying to solve a problem here. It's just how do we get a little bit better every single day? That's it.
Yep. And one thing you said inside of there too, that like I've been kind of hinting at is you said a mindset. It's like this experimentation mindset or this operator's mindset where I think for so long in digital or like direct to consumer or just like the Shopify space in general was you dominated on advertising excellence. It was like, hey, can I be the best advertiser possible? My argument is that that ship has sailed and we are in the era of the operator. Like I can't look at channels and be like dollar in, dollar out. Great. You were talking about the rising tide and like, hey, like directional. It's not airtight. Like I need to be evaluating the entire business and I need to be evaluating my entire business from like a profitability standpoint. Like not just like growth at all costs. Like advertise was grow top line, money, like just keep throwing money at it and grow the top line. We're in this era of like, look across the entire business because the solution probably isn't staring you in the face in that advertising side of the business. It's not about just marketing. It's how do you become a sound operator? And that's what we're talking about. Like, that's why we ask all these questions inside the business because it's like the biggest upside or unlock could be anywhere. We got to ask the right questions to find it.
Love it. Love it. More to come, I guess.